All right, I have that it is now officially 11 a.m. Central Time. So I am going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us. As I shared earlier, today's webinar is going to be on how to create virtual lessons using Attainment's Hands-on Math series. Please note that we will be recording this webinar. We do have the chat open, so please take a moment to provide us with your name, the name of your school district, and if you include your email address, we will be sure to send you a PDF copy of the step-by-step directions for using Google Slides and PowerPoint to create virtual lessons from what we're sharing with you today. My name is Renee Zelt, and co-presenting with me today is the amazing Georgina Baba. We see several names of individuals that attended last week's webinar showing up in the chat, and this is where we were showing you examples of ways to adapt Attainment's Hands-on Math series for a virtual learning environment. And we are so thrilled that you're taking time to join us again today. If you did not attend last week's webinar, you do not need to worry. We have exciting things to share with everybody today that you should be able to use. Georgina and I both love sharing information with others, and our goal is to provide you with at least one new idea that you will be excited to try out and use with your students. So hopefully you are now ready to get started. Our objective for the webinar today is to provide you with step-by-step instructions on how to create lesson templates and manipulatives for virtual instruction, and we will be highlighting Attainment's Hands-on Math series. Remember, if you would like for us to send you a copy of our step-by-step directions on creating virtual lessons using Google Slides and PowerPoint, make sure that you've included your email address in the chat box. We will begin by first using and talking about Google Slides, which is a web-based platform, and we'll be showing you how to create interactive lessons and work mats to use with your students to deliver real-time virtual lessons and instruction. After talking about Google Slides, we will then move on to talking about PowerPoint, which is a Microsoft presentation software that is installed and available on most computers. Using PowerPoint, we are going to show you how to create interactive activities for your students to practice new concepts and generalize learned skills in an engaging and fun way at school or even in the home setting. So just in case some of you joining us today are not familiar with Google Slides, I'm going to take just a minute to start with a few of the basics. So Slides is a free web-based presentation program that is available on all devices and platforms. All you need is an internet connection and a web browser, or in the case of mobile platforms, Android or the iOS app. So to use Google Slides, you will need to have a Google account, or what we often hear as your Gmail account. If you don't have one already, you would need to sign up for one, and you can find all kinds of step-by-steps on the internet on how to do that. Now, how do you access Google Slides? So first, you're going to go to https://slides.google.com, and this will open the Slides home screen. Once you're there, you're going to click the blank presentation that has the multicolored plus sign to start creating your work mats or instructional lessons on a blank slide. Once you click on the multicolored plus sign, a blank presentation will magically appear. It will open and you will be ready to begin. So we're going to start by showing you how to make interactive lessons using PDF workbook pages. If you joined us for last week's webinar, we showed you several examples of interactive lessons using workbook pages. And now today we plan to show you how you can make them for yourself. We're going to start by showing you how to create an interactive lesson using a workbook page from the Look at Math student workbook that is included with Hands-on Math 2. We will be creating number tiles that can be used as drag and drop answer responses. Most Attainment Company curriculum resources include either a flash drive or a PDF CD that includes the digital files for student content, including an image library and the student workbook pages. And these will be most helpful when creating your slides. So the first thing when using either the flash drive or the PDF CD or a file that you have on your computer, you want to open the file for the workbook page that you're wanting to add to your Google slide. The example on the screen is the student book PDF file that I've just highlighted from the Look at Math flash drive, which is again part of the Hands-on Math 2 curriculum kit. The next step is to select and then copy an image of the workbook page or mat that you want to create for your Google Slides. One way to copy an image is to use the snipping tool, or you may want to use the snip and sketch tool. You can do a search from your desktop to access these or other similar snipping tools or apps. And these are really helpful in allowing you to copy and paste and save images that you're going to want to use later. So once you have selected your snipping tool, you've outlined it, and now we're going to want to save that image. And so on this screen, I'm showing you how you would save a snipped image where we use the snip and sketch tool. So the first thing you're going to do is select the save icon in the app. You're going to want to name the file, and then you're going to want to save this image to a location on your computer. This is one way that you can save a PDF or an image copy of one of the workbook pages. Another option would be to take a screenshot to capture the image that you want. To do this, you're going to tap the print screen, or on some keyboards it's labeled PRTSC. I've highlighted it here for you, an example. And this will take an image of your full screen, your computer monitor screen. Once you do that, you're going to right-click on your mouse and you will paste the image or the screenshot into a document. For this purpose, we are needing to save an image to use that we want to use for our background in Google Slides. So you can paste your print screen image into a PowerPoint slide. You could do it in a Word document, but the key thing is that you're going to want to save that image. So you're going to, right now we're showing you in PowerPoint, you're going to double click the image, which is going to then allow you to crop any of the surrounding area that you don't want included with your image, and that will get it to the image to your liking. So anything that's along the sides of it that you don't want in there, you would be able to crop out. So once your image is completely cropped, you're going to select the image by clicking on it with your mouse. Once you've selected the image, you're going to right-click on your mouse and a menu will appear. When this menu appears, you're going to select Save as Picture. Place your picture in the folder that you want and give it a name. Give it a name that will be easy for you to identify and that will help you later as you continue adding to your virtual lessons. Once you've given it a name, select Save. And now that you have a saved image that you're going to want to use, you're ready to begin. So we're going to go back into Google Slides, into the Google Slides document that you had opened. Once you have opened your Google Slides document, you're going to want to name it, add a title. You will also want to rename the Google Slides file by renaming your slide presentation. So in this case, it's Hands-On Math 2, Chapter 1, Lesson 3. If you're working with a workbook page, it is best to have the slide the same orientation as the worksheet. In this case, we're going to want portrait mode. That's what will work best, not as it is right now in landscape mode. So to resize the slide, what we're going to do is first select File, then select Page Setup. Once you go into Page Setup, the screen will pop up and you will want to select the Custom option. So once you select that, a new box will open up, and this is where you're going to type in your dimensions. So a typical sheet of paper measures 8.5 by 11, so that would be the size of our workbook pages. So if you type in 8.5 by 11, it's going to enter that, and it will change your presentation to a portrait mode slide like you see here. So once you have the page set up the way you want it, your slide's going to look like this, and you are now ready to change your background. We will do this by inserting the image that we just copied and saved. So changing your background allows you to have the image locked in place on the slide so your students won't be able to move the image, alter the image in any way. It becomes the background and it is locked. So you're going to select the slide that you're going to want to apply the background image to. You will then select Background. And now you want to select or choose your image. So once you have done and highlighted Choose Image, a box is going to appear. You're going to select Browse because you're going to want to look for and locate the file that you had been working on and saved earlier so that we can add that to our background. So there's the file that I created. I will select it, and then I will choose Open. Next, I will select Done. And then my image will now be the background for this Google slide, and it will not be able to move. So now, we want to be able to add movable images that our students will be able to drag and drop to show their answers to the questions. You can do this one of two ways. You can do it directly in Google Slides, or you can simply add a saved image from a file. By the end of the presentation, you're going to know how to do this both ways. So you can add shapes to your Google Slides and use these in the same way that you would a text box. Go to Insert, shape, shapes, and then select the shape that you want to draw. In this instance, I'm showing you a square. We're now going to add some movable number tiles to our workbook page. So after you've drawn your shape, you can add text to the shape. In this case, the number 9, because again, we're making number tiles, but it could be different numbers, it could be words. Once you type the content in the shape, you can change the font size, the color, and the direction. A helpful tip for you to know is that if you select an object and you hold down Control D on the keyboard, it will duplicate the shape or the image that you've added to your slide. I find this particularly helpful in making sure that all of my manipulatives, number tiles, are all the same size and format, and this can be a huge time saver. So using the steps that I just showed you, you would be able to create a variety of interactive student workbook activity pages by selecting a file to save as your background or the locked image, and then creating shapes to mark answer choices or number tiles or images inserted as answer choices. So let me just show you a few of the possibilities. I do know that I have covered a lot of information here, but remember, if you enter your name, your district, and email into the chat box, we will send you the PDF file of the step-by-step directions on how to do this with a couple of additional tips and steps included. So here are some of the possibilities, like we had talked about with the drag and drop, number choices like what you see here. You can add circle shapes to be able to drag and highlight answer choices that way. You can use the X marker shape that students would be able to drag and drop to mark their answers. Here's an example, again, using the circle shape to be able to highlight or select your answer choice. Images can be used, which would be used to create a variety of manipulatives that students could drag and place on the slide. You can use images of the manipulatives again for students to use as counters to help them with math. So in this case, dragging the image of the number pegs that are included in the image library from Hands-On Math, the student could drag those to show the number 3. And we could also create number tiles for them to drag and place their answer. Again, these are circles just to be able to mark answer choices. You can create symbols for greater than, less than, equal. Again, they're just square tiles that the student can move and place. These are circles that a student could use to complete patterns. This is Hands-On Math 2, some of the Look at Math worksheets where students could drag created number tiles to show their answer responses. They could circle the correct sign for completing the problem. Here's some where we used images of time for the student to match the time and drag and drop. Again, circle highlighting and just more answer choices for the student to be able to show what they know. So hopefully you were excited about learning a variety of ways to be able to use workbook pages to create activities. And now we're going to move on and show you how to use Google Slides to create what we call work maps. So Georgina is going to pick up from this point. So I'm going to stop my share. And then Georgina, if you're ready.
I am. I am just making sure that they're going to see the correct screen.
Yes.
And then, let's see, screen 2, screen 1. Okay. We're going to share that and then do our PowerPoint slide. Oh, there it goes. Can you see it, Renee?
I'm looking, I've got, Fort Knox over here with all of my slides. So I
know, trying to figure out how to close them out and
yes,
not closing out our Zoom meeting, right?
Exactly, and not closing out the Zoom meeting. But I do believe, hopefully, that I am seeing your screen. So yes, I've got it. We are good.
Awesome.
So
okay.
You take over and I'm going to mute myself.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a nice crowd and I hope you are not overwhelmed, but just remember that we have done a step-by-step PDF for you guys so that you can go back and follow the directions. They're going to be written out for you. And then that way you can actually do this. You can do this for your students. So what Renee talked about was how to create the workbook activities in Google Slides. And now I'm going to show you how to make a work mat. So this is what we had talked about last week in regards to our work mats. And these are used for that real-time instruction with your students so that you can really see if they're understanding concepts and you're actually teaching them and seeing how they're moving the pegs or manipulatives in real time. So to create a work mat, you are going to open up a new Google Slide document, much like you did before. But when you open it this time, you'll notice that the default setting opens the slide in landscape mode. So the great thing with the work mats is this is the direction that you'll want it in for the work mat. So you won't have to change anything. So that's a plus, right? So much like before, you'll want to find the image that you're going to want to use for your background on the work mat. And again, like before, you'll want to crop the image. And then once you have it cropped the way you want it, you'll select the image and then right-click the image and you'll save as picture. Once you do that, you're going to save it in the folder or area that you want the image to be in. And again, make sure that it's an easily identifiable name so that you can find it easily, right? So then you'll go back to your Google Slides presentation that you're working with, and you'll select Insert, Image, Upload from Computer. Once you do that, you'll select Browse, and then you'll find where you saved that image, and it will now be placed onto your Google Slides. Great, that is wonderful. But now, in order to make sure that this does not move, we'll have to make sure that we place it in background mode. So in order to do that, you'll have to be sure that your image that you've added onto the Google slide is exactly where you want it to be for your work map. And then you will save the image again by selecting File, Download, PNG Image. So once you've done that, it should open directly on the bottom of your Google slide. So the next step to that is to then click on background. When you click on background, you are going to then have a box that pops up and you are going to choose your image. Once you choose your image, you'll get a box that pops up like this. And you'll notice that the file that you've saved is down at the bottom. I don't know if you guys noticed the highlighted box that popped up right at the bottom. That is your image. So what you'll want to do is you can decide to browse for the image, or since it's down at the bottom, that box that I just highlighted again, you can simply drag it into the browse box. And then once you do that, you'll select done, and you have your background image. So this is what it will look like. And your background image is now locked in place so that your students will not be able to move it. So great thing, it's locked, no one can change it unless they change the background. But for your student purposes, they won't be able to change it. So now for this work mat activity, we will have the students moving and placing pegs onto the number line. So we will need to add a circle shape to the slide in order to create pegs. So in order to do that, we are going to add a shape onto our Google slide. Remember, we're going to select Insert, Shape, Shapes, and then choose the shape that we want to draw. So for us, for our purposes, we're going to draw a circle, but if you've got a student that likes, you know, smiley faces, you can do that. But you can, for this one, we're just going to do a circle. So now you are going to draw the shape that you want to make, and you want to draw it to the desired size that you want. To add color to the shape, you're going to select the object, and then you are going to go to the fill up at the top. It looks like a paint bucket. And once you click on that, you can choose the color that you want, and it will change the shape fill. Much like Renee mentioned earlier, a trick as far as making multiple copies, if you hold down your control key at the same time as hitting the letter D on your keyboard, it will make multiple duplicates of what you've just created. So if you want 10 yellow circles, then you would just hit Control, and at the same time, you would just hit D 10 times, and it will create those shapes with the same exact format, size, color, shape that you did previously. So that's just a cool trick for you. Also, another cool trick is if you want to change the color of 5 of them, you can, again, hit your, hold down your control key, select each one of the images that you want to change the color on. And then once you have them selected, you will go up to the fill color and you will change the color of it. So that was a quick way of creating those interactive work mats. So I just wanted to show you some other examples of ideas that you could do for creating work mats. For this work mat, the students are simply moving the pegs onto the number line. Let's see. This for this one, like I said, the students are moving the pegs onto the number line. Same with this one, you can say, you know, show me 5, and they'll move 5 onto the number line. You can look at some different vocabulary words while you're working with the student. And also some more number mats where they're having to do that counting. They're having to identify that number and then be able to show you how many buttons belong on that work mat. So those are just a few examples. I mean, the possibilities for these work mats are endless. One thing we did want to show you is you do have to share your Google Slides with a parent in order for them to be able to access these work mats so that you can work with the student real time. In order to do that, you will need to click on share, which is the top right hand side of your screen. Once you do that, you'll get this pop-up box, and here you can either email it directly to a parent, or you can copy the link and then send it via email or however you guys do it, whether it's Remind or any of those other apps. You can send it to the parent that way, but you'll need to make sure that in this, when this box pops up, that it is also, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I'm moving too fast. You'll see that it has to be in editor mode. So I'm not sure if my mouse is, probably not, but it has to be in editor mode before you,
Georgina.
I'm sorry?
Your arrow is showing.
Okay, good. All right. So it does have to be in editor mode so that your students are able to move the pegs that you have created on the side of your work mat. Okay. So that is it as far as Google Slides is concerned. Again, please don't be overwhelmed. We are going to have a PDF that shows you step by step everything that we've done. So we will get that to you if you'd like it. And also we are recording this webinar so you can follow along step by step as you watch the video again, if that's what you want. So now I'm going to move on to PowerPoint and just the fun dynamic ways that you can use PowerPoint. PowerPoint is meant as possibly some extra generalization of skills that the parents can facilitate with their child, not so much, you know, real-time instruction, but more practice for your students. So with PowerPoint, I just want to show you first where you can find animations and what animations are. So when you have your PowerPoint presentation opened, you'll notice at the top of the screen, it has several options for you to choose from. It starts with the word File. You'll also notice the word Home, Insert, Design, Transition, Animation, and so on. So in order to access animations, you'll click on the word titled Animation. You will notice that there's a small arrow at the bottom right-hand side of that box. And if you click on that, it will take you to more animations like this. So now you can see that there are many different types of animations. So you will notice that there's entrance animations, there are exit animations, motion paths, and there are also, I'm sorry, exit, I've missed emphasis. So there's entrance, emphasis, exit, and motion path animations. And also you'll see at the bottom left-hand screen, there's even more animations and more effects that you can possibly use for your PowerPoints. One thing I did want to point out to you is that entrance animations are used for an object or word that will enter the slide. The icons for this type of animation are colored green. So if you use this type of animation for an object, that object will enter the slide according to your timing preference or with the click of a mouse. Your exit animations are used for an object or word that will exit your slide like this. So the icons for this type of animation are colored red. The object that you've added this animation to will exit the slide according to your time preference or with the click of your mouse. So it just depends on what you want it to do. Your emphasis animations are used for an object or word in order to bring attention to it. So like this. The icons for this kind of animation are colored yellow. The object won't enter or exit the slide, but will emphasize and draw attention to that object or word. Your motion path animations are used for an object or word that will allow you to move it on your slide, like this. You can specify or draw a path where you want the object to go. So that's a pretty neat animation effect that you can add. So for the purpose of today, we are going to make a slide for error correction. So what we want to do first is we want to open up a PowerPoint presentation. This is different than Google Slides. So now this is PowerPoint. Just want to make sure that's clear. I don't want anyone to be confused. So now that we're here, we are going to want to insert an image that we'll want to use for our question. So in order to do that, for this example, I'm going to add an image that's going to be that the student is going to extend the pattern that's currently on the screen. So in order for me to add this image, you want to go to Insert, Pictures, this device, and then you'll insert the picture that you want. You'll also want to insert 3 images for answer choices. You can reduce or increase the answer choices as you see fit for your student. For this one, I went ahead and added 3 answer choices just so I can show you guys. But much like adding the previous image, you can go to Insert, Pictures, this device, and then find the images that you want to use for this PowerPoint. Another quick way to do it is just copying and pasting the image directly right into PowerPoint. So instead of inserting it, the image, you can just copy the image and then paste it right in. So now that we've done that, we're ready to add our animations. So that's pretty easy, right? So we're going to select the images. And in order for you to select more than one, you'll hold down your Control key and then you'll select the images that you want. So now both of those shapes are highlighted. And now we will go to Animations. And then we're going to hit that little arrow to expand our box. And we're going to get this big box. We are going to select Fade. And the reason we are selecting Fade is because these are the wrong answer choices. We want them to fade away if the student were to click on either one of those answer choices. So Fade is going to make them disappear. You'll repeat the step for the right answer choice. Again, you'll select the image and then you'll go to Animations. And then you'll select an emphasis effect, which it's going to keep the image on the page, but again, it's just going to emphasize that correct answer. So for this one, I've chosen that it's going to just spin. All right, so once you select that, your animations are added to your slide. To check and see if the animations were selected, you can select Animations, animation pane. And then you'll notice over here that the animation pane is going to open and that there's a mouse next to the different animations on the right-hand side. Remember, the color coding means something. Red means that it's exiting, and yellow means that there's an emphasis effect that we've placed on that specific image. So another way to tell if your image has an animation on it is you'll also notice that there's a number next to each animation. All right, so now we are going to add a trigger. A trigger is what allows you to initiate a sequence of animations by clicking on a specific object on a slide rather than simply clicking on your mouse anywhere on the slide. And you'll understand what I mean by that once we get to the end. So now we are going to select animation again, and then we're going to make sure our animation pane is open. And then we are going to want to select the animation that we want to add the trigger to. So we're going to highlight the animation that we want. And then once you do that, you are going to tap on the arrow, and then you're going to click Effect Options. Effect Options is going to open up this box right here. And you'll want to make sure that you click on the Timing tab. So there's two tabs, Effect and Timing. We want to make sure we click on Timing. Once we do that, we're going to go down to the bottom or midway, and we are going to select the word Triggers. And then we are going to select Start Effect on Click of, and then you're going to choose the picture that you want. So if you're not sure which picture you're adding this effect to, just look at your animation pane. It's highlighted for you, because remember, that's where you started off. And we know that red means that it's going away. So red means that it's fading away. So now you've added the trigger. So now it should, once you click it, it should fade away when the student selects that specific image. All right, I hope I haven't lost anyone, but just remember, you'll get a step-by-step of everything that we've done. And if you would like, we can send you the webinar as well, the recorded webinar. So now you'll notice after you repeat these steps for each one of the images, answer choices that you want, you're going to notice on your animation pane that each image on your slide, or each answer choice, has a trigger that is going to be activated with the click of a mouse. And we know that because there is a mouse icon next to each trigger. The next thing you'll notice is that there's also a lightning bolt that is going to appear next to each image. This also means that the trigger effect has been added. So two ways for you to check and make sure that the trigger effect has been added. If you want to add a sound effect, if that's something that you want to do, it's up to you, but I just wanted to show you. You go to Animations, Animation pane, select the down arrow, select Effect, select Sound, and then choose the one that you want. Press OK, and it will add that sound image, or that sound effect, to your image. And again, I will show you what that's going to look like, or sound like, I should say. So now we must link the image at the top of the current slide that it's on. And what that means is if a student were to click on that image, that it would advance to it wouldn't advance to the next slide. So we are making sure that if a student were to accidentally touch the image up at the top, that it would stay on this slide and not move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the image by clicking on it. And you'll see that it's highlighted because there's little circles around it. And then you'll want to right click. And when you right click, you will get a menu bar. On the menu bar, you'll want to select the word link. And then this box will pop up. So on this box, you'll want to link that image to the slide that you're currently working on. So you'll select place in this document, slide 1, and then OK. Whichever slide you're working on or working in, that is the slide that you're going to choose. So once you have multiple slides that you've created, just make sure that you're linking it to the current slide that you're working in. So just a few more steps. If the student were to click on any of the white areas on your PowerPoint presentation, then it would advance to the next slide. So we want to stop them from being able to do that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to place a transparent box over the entire slide. So again, if the student were to touch anywhere else that's white on that slide, that it won't transition to the next slide. So in order to do that, we are going to select Insert, Shapes, and we are going to select the rectangle shape. Now we are going to drag our mouse and draw the transparent box. And we're going to draw it from corner to corner. Your box, as you can see on this slide, it is going to be a solid color. So I'm going to show you in the next steps how to make it transparent. So right now it's a solid color, and you will drag it from corner to corner so that this so that we can draw our transparent box. So now on this side, you'll notice that when I drew my transparent box, it was a solid blue color. I'm not sure, yours might be a red, it doesn't matter. Now we're going to go ahead and change the fill color of this box to make it transparent. So we are going to select the box that's there. You'll notice because it was a blue box, so you'll select the blue box, and then you'll go to Shape Format. From Shape Format, you'll get a box that's going to come up here on your bar that says Shape Fill. And then you'll go down and you'll select No Fill. So the No Fill is going to make it transparent. You'll also want to remove the border that's on the box. So you'll go to Shape Format, Shape Outline, and No Outline. So that has now made your box transparent. So we want to make sure now that we link it, and we'll select the box and we'll right click it. And when we select the box and right click it, we're going to get a menu that looks like this, and we'll select Link. Again, we want to link this box to this slide so that it does not transition and move to the next slide. So again, much like the previous step, you're going to do Place in this document, slide 1, OK. And last step for this is you'll want to select the box one last time, and then you'll want to send it you'll select it one last time, and then you'll right click and you'll send it to back. That means it's in the background. And again, if a student were to touch anywhere else on the slide, it won't transition to the next slide. So that's a very important step that you have to do, is send it to the back. All right, so now we need to add an image or shape so that the student can transition to the next slide. So I'm going to go to Insert, Shapes, and I'm going to add an arrow. You will draw the arrow wherever you want on your slide. And then you'll select your arrow, you'll right click, and you'll link your arrow to the next slide. So in order to do that, you'll get this again. You're going to do place in this document, but this time you're not going to choose what slide. You're just going to choose next slide, which you can see here. It says next slide. Press OK, and we are done. So now you have your interactive slide, and if you see, if I press on it here, it won't go anywhere. But if I press on the wrong answer choice, it's going to go away. And I'm not sure if you heard the sound effect, but there was one. And if you choose the right answer choice, do that. And then if you choose your arrow, it will take you to the next slide. All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that. And again, if you guys need a certificate of completion, you can email info@Attainment Company, or you can email your account managers and we'll get that sent to you. Make sure you have your name on there, and also the name of the webinar and the date of the webinar, which was today. These are your wonderful, wonderful account managers. And so if you don't see your state on this, on here, just email info@Attainment Company and they will get you to the appropriate account manager. Again, thank you for joining us during this time. One last thing we promised.
Hold on, Georgina.
Yes.
We did have some really good questions that came up in the chat. So if you don't mind, I just want them to know you're going to go through that last slide, and then I'm going to take over and pull up Google Slides, because they were asking about would you use this in a Zoom type setting? How do you know what the student is doing? And so I thought I could kind of show them just a little bit with the screen share before we exit.
Absolutely. Okay. One last thing is, last week, if you joined us, we told you that we would provide you with a sample of a pre-made lesson slide. So we want to do this in a way so that we can get you what you want, but you have to follow what we're asking. So if you would like step-by-step directions for creating activities in Google Slides and PowerPoint, make sure that you included your name, district, and email in the chat box, okay? You can also request your choice of pre-made curriculum lesson slides for one of the following hands-on math series curriculum titles. So when you provide us with your name, make sure you also provide us with the name of the curriculum that you want, either hands-on math for early numeracy, hands-on math, or hands-on math 2, and then include if you want the Google Slides or the PowerPoint format. So make sure you include what you want. We'll send you the sample that we have for either Google Slides or PowerPoint. All right. You guys are awesome. And I'm going to exit now and give Renee my screen.
And let's see, just wanted to be able to show just really quickly. Mine should be there. And so somebody was asking earlier about being able to, is it sharing it, Georgina?
Yep.
Okay. So what happens when you share your Google slide with a parent? The parent would open that up in Google Slide. You would have the same document opened up. And because it's a web-based platform, you're both working in this same document simultaneously. So as you're giving instruction, you would be using some type of virtual platform, like we're using Zoom today, but you might be using Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you use to interact, but then you're also adding another layer, which is the Google Slides. So the parent or the student opens Google Slides, you have that same file open, and then as you give directions to the student, then they're interacting with their slide, moving or counting, and you will be able to see what they're doing as they are manipulating and working in that same program.
Renee, I opened mine.
Oh, you did?
Wonderful.
Yeah. So to show you kind of what that would look like, I could say, Georgina, I want you to count the pegs on the number line, starting with the number 1. Can you do that for me?
And then 1, 2, 3, 4.
And so now you can see her interaction. It highlights a different color. And so that works really nicely there. The other thing is in the context of the student workbook activities, if you sent these as individual files, named it for the student, after they finish putting their answer responses, this wouldn't necessarily have to be in real time. It could be where you're giving them feedback and showing them, but it could be that they complete this activity and then share the completed file or send it back to you, and you can check their answer responses. But it just lends itself nicely to be able to provide real-time instruction. So that is all that I had that I wanted to make sure that we covered today. I do sincerely thank all of you for joining us, and we hope that there were at least a couple of takeaways that you have from today. And we will be sure, if you've requested the step-by-step PDF, to make sure that we get that document to you.
And also, please make sure you're telling us which curriculum you're wanting, and it's either Google Slides or PowerPoint.
So thank you again for joining us. We'll leave the chat open. So that you can continue to enter your responses. Again, I hope that your time with us today was helpful and you learned some new things, and thanks for joining us.